We'll be looking at Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease would be our, what would I call this, our vehicle to take us through the information we'll be sharing for brain health. Because Alzheimer's disease would represent probably, I would say, one of the more extreme and more, they said they did a survey of young people under 30 to ask them what was the most concerning or troubling diseases. And cancer was number one, and Alzheimer's was number two. So for most people, that's the most, you know, if I could use the word scary thing they could think about. And so this is why I think I'll use it as a vehicle just to explain what you can do to prevent degeneracy in the brain. The aim of the presentation is how to naturally heal and prevent brain deterioration. So how to naturally heal and prevent brain deterioration. And as we work through the study, you will realize that it is possible to prevent diseases such as Alzheimer's, or to prolong or put off the onset of the disease. Our objective is to look at the lifestyle impact on the disease. We're going to take a look at the jasmine rice recipe, and I'll explain why I'm using this recipe. And all the recipes are related to the disease or the condition that we want to improve. Basic natural health aids, stew lentils. Then I'm going to look at the specific healing nutrients that are needed. Then I'm going to make a flaxseed walnut salad dressing. Then I'm going to look at the prion connection. And I'm going to just talk about 4 specific things that you can do immediately starting this today to be able to increase your health. Alzheimer's disease, and some specific note. Alzheimer's disease carves out large holes like pieces of Swiss cheese into the brain. And what it does, the neurons, which are nerve cells that send signals via biochemicals or via electrical impulses. These neurons get damaged, they get affected, or their whole structure get broken down. And because of this breakdown and this dysfunction within the neurons cannot send the signal, whether it be a biochemical signal or electrical impulses. And as you know, most of our information and everything that we do is affected by biochemical processes or electrical processes. And so you start thinking about food, and the moment you start thinking about food, your mouth starts to salivate, and you start to recognize that your stomach needs food. All of these are either impulses that are being sent out or being received. And as they're received, they are, some more class calls in the back, but no, I'm not saying some more troublers in the back. So as you get hungry, all of these is going on in mind is processing this. And as your mind is processing all of this information, if you're not receiving the proper impulse or sending out the proper triggers to be able to make things function in your body, then all of a sudden you start having a total breakdown within your system. The brain becomes abnormal also with this disease, not just Alzheimer's, but dementia and any other form of disease. And as the brain shrinks, its capacity to carry out its daily functions reduces. Learning and memory disappears or become lessened. Alzheimer's accounts for about 60 to 80% of all cases of dementia. And the word dementia really means deprived of mind, where the person cannot think anymore. So still alive but cannot think or cannot do functions that are needed for life. Alzheimer's disease is also a slow and progressive shrinkage of brain, characteristic by 2 peculiar neuron damage, clumps and plaques of a sticky gum called beta amyloid or tangles, formed by another brain toxic known as tau. Now we'll go into this a little bit more when we talk about prion at the end of the lecture. And this is a look at I can't tell if it's your right or left as what I'm looking at the screen. But as you look at, you could later on come and look at it. But basically what happens is that because of the prion and because of the genetical damaging that's going on in the brain or breakdown in the brain, what we have happening is that the neurons become dysfunctional or ill-formed, or they become damaged, and so they cannot function the way they normally would function. And again, I'll try to get a picture that could show what was going on. And this is important also, like for future lectures when we look at things like cancer and various other kind of diseases, because you notice with all those diseases, an issue of the DNA, the RNA, or some type of regular process that the body does start to get some type of genetic sequence damage, and they start to do what they ought not to do. And this is what's going on. And again, we'll deal with that a little bit more. I'm just trying to weave through some of this information. Most dominant gene associated with Alzheimer is the APOE4 gene. About 25% of Americans carry this gene. So technically, 25% of Americans, basically by carrying this gene, should be showing signs or results of Alzheimer's, but this is not the case. And the reason why this is not the case is because genes, as you know, can be inside of us, but they're not expressed. But certain things can express those genes. So in other words, you can have a person with a family history of, say, hypertension, but because they change their diet and their lifestyle, they do not show any signs of hypertension. Because again, genes can be told to act or told not to act. I'll read this information. This information is good, and most of you are familiar with some of this, but I still read it. Disturbing facts from a 2008 report titled Environmental Threats to Healthy Aging by researchers with the Greater Boston Physicians for Social Responsibility. People living in cities with severe air pollution have more Alzheimer's type brain damage than those in cities with cleaner air. Okay, so this is something that is well researched because of whether it be diesel exhaust or just basically any type of air pollutant. The brain still shrinks as if the person is having Alzheimer's. The brain still goes through neuronal damage where it cannot send proper signal, and so the person have a lot of brain fog. All of this can happen because of air pollutant, and we will deal with that a little bit more again.
Go Sussex.
Go Sussex. Well, yes, it's really good to live in an area that you can breathe, right? That's true. Lab rats that ingest modest amounts of aluminum has had more age-related memory loss. And many of you have heard about this, that to avoid cooking in pots and pans made from aluminum. But this has been proven using the poor lab rats. But go ahead.
I was just going to ask you about that, about cooking, when I grew up. Aluminum pots were the rage, shall we say.
Yes.
And the job I had, I was exposed to a lot of aluminum burning. So I'm worried about it.
Are you feeling good down there, Bob?
That was a concern because my teeth never broke.
I ate lead paint when I was a kid.
How about a lot of the underarm deodorants? They got aluminum in it too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't use the deodorant, which my wife hates because she says, you don't smell good. But the thing of it is I look at it this way. Every time you put that under your arm, your body's going to absorb some of that aluminum.
Yeah.
I'd rather smell.
Yeah. Than light up at night.
Yeah, so, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that.
Yes.
A lot of them are stuff that we use is making us sick. And we don't
it's
little at a time.
Yes,
I just got the natural stuff,
The natural stuff is good.
Baby
I
powder.
didn't know that. When did that change?
And actually, some of the baby powder is actually made from aluminum.
Oh man, so you can't even use that.
Yeah, which is talc,
Yeah, but
which is talcum. So
I use your jasmine rice.
yeah,
Over there.
and it will help. Actually, you'll find that probably will help more with the nice aroma that it has. No, so but definitely what happened is the raw metal get inside of the system and poison the system. And one thing I didn't have in this presentation is that copper, also ingesting copper can cause the same results. We're fogging up the brain, poisoning up the brain, the neurons. And one of the primary ways that people receive copper into their bodies by eating meat, especially the fat in the meat, because the fat stores heavy metals in all mammals. And because we eat the fat, we eat all that stored heavy metals inside of the system. So we're not made to ingest metals, basically.
15 minutes into this, I'm already starving. I'm going to starve. And smell before I eat.
Okay, so
At least it'd be healthy.
we'll speed up the score. It says gardeners and farmers who use use pesticide at an increased risk of mild cognitive dysfunction. So again, pesticides have been proven with farmers that it could start causing brain fog and damage to the brain. Also, among a thousand people, those with a history of exposure to a variety of environmental toxins and an onset of cognitive decline 10 years earlier than normally expected. All right, so that's expected again because toxin poisons the system, and if it poisons the system, it poisons the whole body. So as much as we can avoid toxins in our day-to-day life, this is very important. And as you can see in that picture, a healthy brain as diagrammed by scans that they have done over the years from people who are healthy and then somebody who has Alzheimer's, and most naturally the Alzheimer's damage, especially the frontal lobe.
Which would be the healthier one?
They'd rather have a hole.
Lifestyle impact on diseases. Many researchers now see Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia as diseases of lifestyle as well as genetics. So there's a genetical component, but the genetics can be turned on or turned off depending on the lifestyle. And so as we know, like cancer, that if you smoke, the smoking can turn on or it can turn off the cancerous cells in the body. And they've even shown where scientists have said that tobacco smoking can help Alzheimer's patient. But all those research have been funded by the tobacco industry. So you can understand why they will come up with that conclusion. Alzheimer's has some of the same lifestyle origin as heart disease and diabetes, obesity, high bad LDL cholesterol, high blood pressure, and physical inactivity. So normally the source can be traced back to these type of lifestyles in people. So people who have heart disease normally have a higher risk of having Alzheimer's. Why? Because if your heart is not functioning properly, and when we say heart disease, we're talking about all the other onset and diseases. Well, the blood is not flowing, so if the blood is not flowing, the brain is not being fed. So if the brain is not being fed, it's starving to death from day to day. Energy intake it goes to the brain. The brain consumes a lot of sugars. And so if the person is not getting good nutrients and also the person is starving their brain, then this normally will happen. The dominant Alzheimer's gene can be muted or magnified and partially subdued by your lifestyle and environment. And this is part of this seminar. We're going to talk about how to mute it, subdue it, or to make it don't even come into your thoughts, so to speak, or into your concerns. High saturated fat, high sugar diet boost brain levels of beta amyloid. Beta amyloids are the same type of protein that we talk about that are prion, that are in the mad cow disease. That's just in human beings they call it beta amyloid. In mad cow, it's the same prion, but they just call it prion in mad cow, and it comes up in all different type of animal diseases. A toxic protein blamed for spreading Alzheimer's, and this was done. This was proven by the University of Washington School of Medicine. Experiment shows that physical exercise is more effective than any known drug in protecting the brain from damage leading to Alzheimer's or memory loss. So they've done Zoloft. There's many different type of drugs, and all they've proven is that physical exercise is either as good or better. Just exercise. We're not talking about the other three things that I'm going to talk about, the other three components. We're talking about getting regular day-to-day exercise. So this is the lifestyle impact that you can see that can happen because of Alzheimer's disease. And this is why we believe there's genetics, but also there's other things. Continue with lifestyle before we go into the first recipe. We have here, it says, heavy drinking push you 2 to 3 years closer to Alzheimer's. Heavy drinkers who also carry the APOE4 gene can expect the onset of dementia 4 to 6 years earlier. Okay, so this is a conclusion from researchers of UCLA. And again, binge drinking, this is from Britain, binge drinking among older people is creating a silent epidemic. Silent in quotation because it makes people go silent. Silent epidemic of alcohol-related dementia causing 10% of all cases. This is in Britain. So in Britain, 10% of all dementia cases are just being caused by alcohol drinking. Because again, alcohol, it's a diuretic, so that means the person is going to go dehydrated. And if the body is dehydrated, the brain is going to be affected. Also, the poison that comes from the alcohol. We see here also that brain shrinkage occur in areas of the brain that are targeted by Alzheimer's. These areas are the frontal and temporal cortex, right in the front here, that affects critical planning and memory. So that means if a person says, I need to go 5 places tomorrow, all of a sudden it's very difficult for them to execute that plan for their day, because the critical thinking and executive planning is damaged. Also, we find that the anterior cingulate gyrus, which control attentions and executive functions, the hippocampus, long-term memory, and basal ganglia that controls the movement, all are damaged or are particularly damaged by Alzheimer's. And we're going to talk about also how to try to do things to make these centers of control and memory in our brain function better. Before we go any further, I want to say also that there's a research I was reading on that they have done after people have died. They've done autopsies, and they have taken the autopsy of a twin. One of the twin had severe Alzheimer's and died of it. Another twin died and had the effects of the Alzheimer's in their brain but functioned regularly, while one forgot everything. So one had the brain with all the Swiss cheese type of effect in the brain and function, because what happened, the brain figured out new neural pathways to function. There's another thing that they did where they showed a young person who had to have a surgery, and they removed parts of the brain that has to do with motor skills and development, and so the child could not be able to do things like play a musical instrument, and the child was able to play musical instrument by just sheer force of the will. What happened on the other side of the brain developed the ability to do it, which we know that's scientists said before that was impossible, but it's been proven that the brain will find a way. So that's why this thing here we're going to talk about effort. So the brain of obese people looks 16 years older than the brains of overweight people 8 years older than of normal weight individuals. So again, just regular scans of the brain, they have shown that somebody that is obese, their brain looks 16 years older. So that means you take a person's age, if they're 50, you just minus 16. If you take a person that's overweight, you minus 8 years off their age, of their brain age, because of the damage that is happening there. Physical exercise, a nutritious diet, mental stimulation, and stress reduction have their greatest impact when people combine these strategies and continue them for several years. And this is somebody small. This is a doctor that normally would prescribe drugs and so forth, and he's coming to a point in his experience where he believes that it's better to tell people to change their diet, start to get in an exercise program, start to do things to be healthy, and you'll get more results than any drug could ever do. We go to the brown rice and jasmine. So here you have in your handout a brown rice. The reason why I chose this kind of rice, because as you know, jasmine has a beautiful smell, a nice smell, and what here is that you will find out as we go along is that diabetes is one of the major triggers for Alzheimer's, and as I'll say a little bit later, Alzheimer's is called the brain. Some scientists call it diabetes of the brain. And as you know, with diabetes, one of the things that happens with diabetes is that the peripheral circulation ceases. People start to not have circulation in their arms, in their eyes, in their feet. Well, with Alzheimer's and any type of mental health problems, is that the circulation is not properly flowing. And so because there's no circulation, parts of the brain is really dying off because there's not getting enough nutrients, not getting enough oxygen. So it's the same basic end result. And so what is it that is important is to eat eat things in your diet that's going to increase your chances of not having diabetes. And that also, I believe, will help with your brain. So that's why I chose jasmine rice. And so the instructions are there. I'm just going to go ahead and cook it, because I'm going to cook it, and by the time we finish the seminar, you'll be able to taste it. Does that make sense?
All right.
I can't really taste it now.
You go right. Okay, so what we have here, we have 3.5 cups of brown jasmine rice.
What brand do you use?
Yeah, what kind of with the rice?
Yeah, what kind of brand do you use?
Is it like,
Oh, you could grab it for it. This is just one that I bought from the Chinese store. And you can,
Chinese brown rice.
yeah, you can buy like
Thailand. So you would get it at either
At the
health
Asian
food
market.
store or
Asian market and
Asian
also
section of
Where
the
is there an
NAP or
Asian
something.
market around here then? What is it?
Well, you can get it at the NAP probably,
there's
right?
no one close, but you know what happened?
Route
I know
46.
brown rice?
Yes.
AAP or ShopRite wouldn't carry it maybe?
they will carry basmati.
Goya.
They'll carry basmati.
They have basmati.
They are the brown
What's for
basmati,
this
so you
one?
could use
You
it's
can
similar
use
in
that
texture.
too?
Yes.
Round,
And you can buy brown short grain. I just wanted to do something a little bit different.
Okay.
So probably I should have just done the regular brown rice. But basically the instructions for cooking would be the same for just about any brown rice. Brown rice needs a little bit more time to cook than white rice because it has the outer core or the outer coating of the rice, which has most of the nutrients, have most of the smell, and it slows the digestion of the rice down so that the carbohydrate does not get, or the sugars does not get into your system as fast as with white rice. And when that happens, then it doesn't cause a blood spike and a sugar spike within your system. And so normally this is one of the things with too much refined processed food creates the problem that we have with diabetes. And so this brown rice here also have this 4 cups of 4 cups of water.
Out of curiosity,
Yes.
usually most rice dishes have like half of what, if it's like 2 cups of water, it's 1 cup of rice. You're almost exactly
Yeah, almost,
Same.
2 cups to 4 cups.
Yes, right, because probably it's just the method I'm using. I'm just going to bring it to boil and I'm going to steam it for a good amount of time.
Oh, okay.
And with brown rice, as I say, it needs a lot of steaming because it has to break.
more than water.
Yeah, it has to
Okay.
break down.
Okay.
So sometime you'll find, depending on your stove, I cook at home on an electric stove. Right, so that direction is primarily, I'm using an electric stove. So with sometimes gas works a little bit different. I'm going to cook it right now on a gas stove. So you could have to tweak the direction slightly, depends on what you're doing, depends on how high you're turning it,
Right.
and so forth. So again, the salt, and then some olive oil. I put the olive oil there for it to go down smoother.
Bam!
No bad. So some onion powder. Again, the onion powder just for flavor, for a mild flavor, but just for it to taste a little bit good. You can put more seasoning if you need to. Some yeast flakes. This is nutritional yeast, normally high in B12 vitamins. You can get that into the health food store.
So, what's the thing with the yeast? Why would you do the yeast?
Yeast flakes is to give more like a buttery flavor, more of a cheesy type flavor.
Does it do something though? Because yeast usually expands or grows or does
Yeah, this is deactivated nutritional yeast.
Yeast, okay.
So it has it will not do anything in the body more than for the nutrients that it carries. The primary nutrient is vitamin
Deactivated.
B12. Yes.
So you get that at a health food store?
The health food store, yeah. It's called nutritional yeast.
Okay.
Not brewer yeast or other yeast, it's nutritional yeast, okay? So basically, alright, so it's not activated, so it will not grow, because most yeast will continue to grow.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was going to like hold, right?
Yes, and it's gram negative, I think it is, so it has no bacteria.
Right.
It's just used for flavoring agent in most cooking, especially when you do vegan to make like
And like
cheese.
butter paste, you're saying?
Butter cheese it takes, more cheese. It's used to make like cheese recipes or sauce.
So on popcorn.
Yes, actually yes, it's used on popcorn.
Thank you.
Right? So so according to the directions, I'm gonna kind of do my own thing and kind of watch it while I'm doing. So you just have to follow the directions. I try to time it so that you can get an idea of this time. Again, when it comes on to whole grain, you want to cook it for the full duration of the cooking, because you want to break it down because you don't want to have any undigestible type of.
So you have to cook it for 60 minutes?
Yes.
Oh,
Steam it for 60 minutes on very low heat. You want to break it down because what they've shown is that when you have carbohydrate that is not broken down properly, it can get into the bloodstream and cause scarring inside of the bloodstream, inside of the veins. So you always want to cook it to be broken down so it's not raw.
So is this where you bring the other pot up that's already done?
Ruby?
Is this where you bring the other pot up that is already done?
Yes, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. What I'm doing for you, I actually want you to get a feeling as what, timing-wise, how much work it takes.
Right.
Because when you leave here, I want you to be able to do this, but I want you to feel the possibility in there. So I want you to understand, okay, I can do this, but you're going to take some work, in other words. So in other words, if I have to measure all these things, it'll take a little bit longer.
Right.
When I'm cooking, I don't measure any of this out. I don't think it's, some people do and some people need to. So I give the recipes and try to give some time until you understand where it's at. So this is being cooked for you fresh, not from home. All right, you get the best treatment.
Right.
All right. Now, so we continue here while the pot is going. Basic natural aids that you can do to help yourself to increase your brain power. Effort and growth. Part of exercising, as you know, is that you come to a point where you feel tired, you feel like you can't go any further. When you're at that point, you'll know that some of the major stress is on the brain, because you have to make up your mind, do you keep going or do you stop? Now, most actually, you shouldn't press yourself to a point where you have a heart attack and then it says, Lloyd told me to keep pressing myself. But what I'm saying is that effort, that effort that's put up on the body for whatever you're doing to press yourself, not to the point where you're going to have a headache, but to the point where you came out of your comfort zone, that causes the brain to grow. Because that effort the brain has to recalibrate and get out of its comfort zone, and that pressure on the body tends to help the brain. Now, if you notice, a lot of people have Alzheimer's disease or a certain type of degenerative disease the first year after they retire. Immediately after they retire, they get sick, they come down with a heart failure, they drop dead. Because effort is part of what life is all about. You're born, you make effort. And in most countries that people live very long, you notice that they never retire. They don't retire, just keep working. No, we don't want to live like that. We keep working and always have to be under the gun. But effort is a good thing to make. And so growth also is a good thing. It's always good to do something different in life. And that's basically the main takeaway from many researchers that we have looked upon. It says, get 8 hours sleep starting at 10 p.m. Sleep is good because when one doesn't get sleep, you've experienced this. The kidneys doesn't work properly, you start to feel pain right in your area around your kidneys. The liver doesn't work properly, your brain feels like it's under a fog and you can't think straight. So if you do this continually, they have shown that there's a decline in brain function. So it's good to get proper sleep and to take yourself out of that fog. Most naturally, as you know also, if you get too much sleep, you start to feel like you feel foggy in your head. So too much sleep is not good either. So to get a nice, good amount of sleep, somewhere between 7 or 8 hours of sleep makes more sense. It says, some experts call Alzheimer's diabetes of the brain. I talked about it before. Keep your body hydrated. If you're hydrated, your blood is not flowing properly and your brain will not be able to be healthy. Overcome depression. That's a requirement for avoiding Alzheimer's. If you're depressed, one needs to make effort to do things to overcome depression. And I'll give some advice there as what you can do. One of the things also you can have is have friends, right? It's okay to be alone, but it's not good to be lonely. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Amen? Yes. Yes. It's okay to be
amen.
It's okay to be alone, but it's not good to be lonely. One could be alone instead a person could be single, right? And they're alone by themselves, but they're not lonely. In other words, they have friends, they have family, they have people they talk to, and so forth. So one should get themselves again, make that effort to find some friends, find some activities, and do some things to meet new people. Pay attention. There's a lot of research in this that oftentimes when you meet someone, you introduce yourself to someone, and they say their name to you. They say, okay, I'm Lloyd. And if you don't pay attention to what they just said and repeat it to yourself and make mental notes of probably what they were wearing, you know, what's their height, what's the color of their hair, somehow if they ask you their name like half an hour later, you'll be like, what's their name again?
Jose, no way.
Jose, no way. Right, so you will always
Associate.
Yeah, you make an association.
Asher.
Something like that, but you have to make an association.
Right.
If you know, certain people are memorable because they're not normal. They don't do something crazy.
Yeah,
You remember them. You remember John? He was so crazy.
Sounds like me.
right. So it's good to make some type of association and pay attention. Pay attention always to your surroundings. Make mental note of things, time, place. And this is how the brain remember things and be able to recall things. And so oftentimes you find that, you know, when you're not paying attention, like if I asked you what you were doing on Friday at 12 o'clock, if you were doing something memorable, you would remember. If you're just doing something that's just run off the mill, you'll be like, you don't remember. Okay.
We'll certainly remember this, don't worry.
Alright, that's good, that's good. And it says, also one of the things to do, to naturally hate to do, is to be happy. To be happy. In other words, make up your mind that you're going to be happy. Okay? And make effort to be happy. Okay? Bright living environment. This is important. It's good to be eclectic or to be different when it comes on the choosing colors for your house, your room, or so forth. But they have done many research where they put like rats in a Disneyland park-like environment, and then put other rats in a gray, dry, drab area. And the rats that are in the Disneyland park area, their brain functions better. So in other words, flood your house with light. Flood your house with colors, pictures. They've even done research where they've put artificial things, but bright, colorful, artificial flowers, artificial painted. They've done other research where they've taken people walking in a park and take people walking in city blocks, walk around a city block, and the people that walk in the park have better cognitive function than those who walk in city blocks because there's nothing to stimulate the brain. So in other words, the brain needs to be stimulated somehow. The brain needs to be challenged. The brain needs to be put under pressure some way and somehow. Also, we find that eating okay, I'm alright, it's boiling, sorry. The mental trigger went off in my head. Rice behind you. Okay, so right here I'll take a pause. So when the rice starts to boil, as you see, then you turn the rice down on low. And then you start a process where you evaporate a certain amount of the water, but then you want it to steam for the rest of the time. Because again, you want to make sure it is as cooked and as soft as possible, because it all needs to be broken down, and the carbohydrates need to be broken down.
And please, what you said about when the carbohydrates is not broken, what happens?
When the carbohydrate is not totally broken down, because the body cannot break it down. Like you cannot eat raw rice or any type of carbohydrate without it being broken down. So it has to be broken down by either sprouting it or cooking it. So if it's not cooked thoroughly, the molecules or the part of the carbohydrate that's not broken down will get into the bloodstream, and because it's so hard, it will scar the lining of the veins and so forth. So it has to be broken down properly.
So then if someone eats raw spaghetti,
just thinking that.
carbohydrate, they would have this occurring.
Yes, they've done autopsies and so on, look at people that they can show that it's still in the bloodstream floating around, because nothing in the bloodstream can break it down. It has to be broken down in the stomach, and then most of it started in the mouth. So it's good to eat eat carbohydrate, but it has to be properly cooked. And so this is where the cooking time. You had a question?
No. Somebody just came from.
I think you get a drive-in customer for the food.
Yeah, they're missing all this stuff, right?
So when you're saying when it goes to the vein, it's not excreted in your urine or in
No, because it has to be broken down. Now the body has ways to remove toxins and poisons and so forth from the system, but it just overworks the system to try to clean it out. And they've shown the scarring in the brain also because of this carbohydrate that flows.
So it's not good to eat raw. Actually, raw, like spaghetti, how you like to eat it hard.
Yeah, any
Don't do
carbohydrate,
that.
al dente, that type of way, it's best to be cooked properly.
What about the instant oatmeal, the ones that get in the pack where you just put hot water on?
Yeah, the instant oatmeal is steamed, that's why it can be done instant, but they have shown that that also can cause scarring inside of the blood, inside of the circulatory system and in the brain. Right, so again, because it's raw, the body cannot eat that in any
That makes
form
sense, though, yeah.
or shape. Now, also it says here, so bright environment, eat 2 or 3 meals daily, avoid overeating. Alright, so avoid overeating because again, if you clog the system, and there's no flow within the system, yeah, you're gonna get bigger, but also you're overworking the brain because the brain has to control all this mechanism, and you're robbing the brain of the blood that it needs to be able to do its function. And as you know, when you overeat, the stomach is feel loaded or bloated, but also you feel like you want to sleep because the brain is being deprived of oxygen and blood and energy. So try to avoid overeating. Keep up an active schedule even if you spend much time at home. So if you spend much time at home, find stuff to do around home. Also repeat active, make sure you know where everything is at. So in other words, if I need to find something, I just need to know the water is right here, and I go get the water. If the house is chaotic, it makes the brain overwork. And routine, the brain develops memory from routine. In other words, you drive to work a certain, you go to work a certain direction or way every day. After a while, you don't even have to think about it, your brain will remember what to do. So again, routine is important. Make sure that things are in a very organized way around your house, so forth. So if a person starts to show some Alzheimer's, it's good to start cleaning up, brighten up, do things like that so that it's easy for them to remember where things are located. Eat your heaviest meal at breakfast and lunch, right? So that you don't put too much work on the body as the body is getting time needed to go to rest. Exercise and increase outdoor activity. Get fresh air intake. That's important because fresh air is important because, as you know, the brain needs oxygen. Without oxygen, 4 minutes I think it is, the brain will go into brain dead. So that tells you that oxygen is critical to brain function. So always have a window crack open. If you notice, I have a window crack open there, I have a window crack open over there. We had the door open and the fly came in. So that was not good.
Make sure you're gonna get in the right.
Yeah, you want to make sure that's
That's me. Good.
Alright, so exercise is important. Address allergies. Part of the issue that happens with all brain diseases is inflammation of the brain. And so if the brain is inflamed, like anything else is inflamed in the body, it does not function. It's under extreme pressure. So that inflammation needs to be taken away. Allergies is one of the primary causes of inflammation. And so know your allergies. Know if you have celiac disease. Know if you have any other forms of allergies to any type of food allergies. Because any food allergies will inflame the whole system. If you notice, people who have arthritis disease, if they eat certain foods, their whatever their trouble with, whether it be their back or their knees or whatever, it will inflame. You'll just get into inflammation if they're allergic to anything. So know that your triggers, know what put the brain under stress, and avoid those. Also, we have this thing here where it says personal traits to develop: self-discipline. This is important for good brain function. Goal-directed. That means do things by goals. I have this plan that by next year I'm going to do this, that, and that. And the brain strives on that. The brain grows on that. Be scrupulous. Be purposeful about what you're doing, when you're doing it, why you do it. These are traits that needs to be developed. This helps the brain function better. Be dependable, right? That means it's if somebody depends upon you for something, make sure that you try your best to fill it. This will strengthen the brain function, because the brain function on these things. Be painstaking, be careful, be precise, be orderly, dutiful, and detail orientated. That means detail, because again, all of these things take the brain out of its comfort zone. Anything that takes the brain out of its comfort zone has been shown by many brain scans that the brain will start growing, and especially in the frontal lobe will start growing more. Avoid head injury. This I didn't have to put too much detail on this because we have heard so much about this in the last few months, especially with the football players, and soccer players. Soccer players actually sometimes show that they have more brain injury from headbutting the balls, and that constant pounding of in their head is literally pounding their brain. And so, you know, people always joke, you know, somebody seems to, you get a knock in your head or something, that's why you're acting wrong. Well, that kind of constant hitting in the head damages the brain.
Boxers, yeah.
Boxers, right?
Yeah.
You know, Parkinson's disease, right?
Yeah.
Just from the constant hitting in the brain. So they've shown that says you can, by lifestyle and things that we do, we can actually trigger various type of diseases, including Alzheimer's and various diseases. Go ahead.
I have an article that says men with low testosterone have significant memory loss.
Right, because I could see that, but that's hormonal. But then I would have to see what caused the drop in the testosterone.
How do you increase it?
How do you increase it?
Jasmine, right?
I'm going to get back to that.
You can try to one.
I'll get back.
I'm making a note on that.
Alright, make a note. Okay, so we'll go to our next recipe here. And what I'm going to do is look at a lentil stew. So I chose a lentil stew because lentil, as you know, is high in folic acid. Folic acid increase cognitive function and ability to process information, and also cut Alzheimer risk by 55% in people over 60. So that was a research I quoted. So here we have this been clinically researched, just increasing your intake of lentil. Half a cup of cooked lentils contain 180 micrograms of folic acid, which is about 45% of your daily recommended dosage, or RDA. So lentils, very healthy. Now I have some lentils here that I sprouted from Friday. I started sprouting from Friday, and actually the lentil, thanks to Mark, the lentil here is sprouted for a few days. All right, and it's
There's before and after.
yeah.
Yes, you see
Yeah, so it's sprouted and it's raw, and I'll prepare some of that so you can taste that. I'll just simply season it like I would season the cooked lentils. So this again, tomorrow half in your hand there, about a cup. So that would be about 90% of your RD of folate, or folic acid. And again, this increases your cognitive function. And also we find, because with folic acid is in a lot of beans and other type of natural plants like that. But I chose lentil as the thing I'm going to use. Also, what I did to make the lentil stew here is that I had this lentil, and normally to make lentils cook faster, it's best to soak it for 48 hours to make it softer. And after you make it softer, it cooks faster, and then the enzyme that's within each bean or seed that cause it not to be able to grow, this enzyme is deactivated, and you pour it out with water. So it's better to cook. And also this enzyme, if you cook beans especially, without soaking it, this enzyme will cause you to be gassy. So it's always best to soak your...
Yeah, I know that. You know that, right?
So it's always best to soak your beans before you use it. So
you soaked those already?
4 hours, yes.
Okay.
Soaked it this morning before I left. Yeah, this morning, right? Yeah, this morning. And 4 hours I left. So I skipped my process.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did. I skipped my process. So this one I'm gonna cook for you right away. So I'm just gonna cook this lentils now, and just a little water. So, but because of it's soaked, will cook faster.
So soaked beans will cook in 45 minutes. If they're unsoaked, it's going to
It
take
could,
long,
it
long.
could take longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And lentils are softer beans, so some beans could even be harder and could take you more than an hour.
Well, they have to be soft, like, really, I mean, when they're soft, right? Basically.
Yes, but again, sometimes for the sake of time, to deactivate the enzymes, you know, some I don't know, if you have time, you can stay there and wait for it to cook. Yeah, you know, which is this season here. Is this? I'll talk tomorrow to make it. But you're familiar with turmeric?
Yeah.
Everybody? Right. Right. So turmeric, and this is the raw turmeric. All right, and
I didn't know they made one. I guess they could. I never seen raw turmeric.
I'll get one of the
In Indian store, it looks like ginger.
Yeah?
Yeah.
yeah, it's the same family.
The farmer's market over there.
I see it in Indian store.
Yeah, bring the dish. You can look at it later, but she'll show you the turmeric. But the turmeric, very good. He says,
Oh, yeah.
It's like a
okay, so the curcumin, which is the main pigment in turmeric, is the yellow color. The yellow pigment in turmeric is active, is the active ingredient, fights free radical damage, which we'll talk about in a little bit, protects the liver against toxin, inhibits platelet aggregation. So again, if the platelets in your blood start to get aggregated and get sticky, then that stops circulation. That can cause stroke. If you have a stroke, then most naturally a person who has, I can't remember how many strokes, but having major strokes or mini strokes can cause immediate Alzheimer's. Just having strokes can cause an Alzheimer's for a person having a stroke. So it's always good to have anything that in your diet that keeps the plates that's in your blood from not sticking together or not rubbing against each other. Aids circulation. So turmeric helps with circulation. It's also lower cholesterol level, and again, it doesn't lower good cholesterol level, it lowers the bad cholesterol inside of our system.
So for somebody that's very borderline diabetic, that should be a staple in their diet.
Right,
Almost everything you eat, right?
Yeah, I believe so. That's why I'm cooking it. So,
Can I just ask, how else would you use it? And what other dishes besides, like?
I use it primarily for just
Salad dressing.
I use it almost as though somebody would use like parsley or basil. It's a main seasoning for me personally.
I've never used it.
You never use it, so good. So I should have brought some extra for you to take home.
But I could buy it.
It's selling in the regular store, yes. Just go to the seasoning section.
And then just add, you said to like salad dressing?
I add it to salad dressing.
Yeah, you can. Yes.
Okay.
So yes, you can add it.
You can also buy capsules of turmeric in the health
Yes,
store.
it's one of the
People that
hottest selling supplements right now.
That might be something for my husband.
Yes, it's one of the biggest.
Just get a capsule for him.
Volume-wise, right now, I think it's one of the largest, herbal supplement that's selling
Thank
right
you.
now.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, so turmeric is major focus of studies at the moment. So it's increased aids circulation, lowers cholesterol levels, and improve blood vessels health, which again, very important when we're talking about any of circulatory diseases. Has antibiotic, anti-cancer, and anti-inflammatory properties. COX-2 enzyme we're talking about. So again, it's even better than many of the painkillers. And painkillers have been studied heavily to use with people with Alzheimer's or any type of dementia, because again, they're trying to take down the inflammation, or you can naturally use substance to take the inflammation down. Good for all arthritic condition. Curcumin is a potent anti-inflammatory antioxidant able to slash the buildup of Alzheimer's induced beta amyloid in lab animals. So the same type of thing that would cause like mad cow disease, it's able to stop the buildup, because the buildup is a problem, and it's the buildup causes the damage to the brain. Also, the antioxidants cause oxidative damage or molecular rust. Our brain is fatty acid and burn much oxygen. When oxidized, the fat in the brain literally become rancid like old oil. Antioxidants clear out these free radicals. So our brain is fatty acid. If our brain is getting too much shut off of oxygen, too much chemicals getting in the brain, like we covered earlier with the aluminum or with the copper, these things get into the blood, get into the brain, and they damage the brain and cause the brain to go literally rancid. So this now is where we go to the next slide, and we'll look at, these are specific nutrients that are called antioxidants, and these antioxidants, they're important for brain health. Now, as you know, what antioxidants simply is you can see the effect of antioxidants if you cut like your fruits, especially avocado. Avocado is probably the best example. When you cut the avocado and you can see it start turning black, that means that there's not a lot of antioxidants within that fruit, and so that fruit dies real fast. Well, that's the best way to show. So oxygen is needed for everything to respirate or to live. But the oxygen also is a combustion, it causes combustion, and it will burn or destroy things. So this effect happens in our bodies, and there are certain natural chemicals within fruits and vegetables that slows this action or stops this action altogether. And some of the examples of this would be polyphenols and anthocyanins. These are the colors that are revealed in berries, or the colors that are revealed in leaves at autumn. You know, when the flowers, when the green goes away because photosynthesis has stopped, and then the green, or the colors like orange, red, purple, all these colors show. These are basically polyphenols or anthocyanins, and they're deep, intense colors that can stimulate the birth of new brain cells. I remember up until the 80s, they used to say brain cells cannot regenerate, but they have shown that brain cells can regenerate based upon feeding the body certain nutrients. And so just for brain health across the board, not even dealing with any type of disease, these things are important. And so some of the top antioxidants or antioxidant carrying fruits and vegetables would be, as you see here, blackberry, elderberry, raisins, blueberry, artichoke, and so forth, going down the list. Garlic, I was supposed to have some garlic, but I didn't have some garlic, but the garlic is in the recipe for the lentils. And then you see also the red cabbage, we had that yesterday. And then asparagus and broccoli raw. Excellent. So I'm doing good over here, and I'm doing good there. So we see here, these are specific nutrients that need to be taken into the system. Now when we're talking about taking in these, we're talking about taking them in volume, in season. Because if you notice, when plants are in season, or when fruits are in season, they don't bear in a small amount, they bear in a large amount. So large that the tree is weighing down with the fruit. I tell you that in that season it's best to consume as much of that nutrient that is being put out by nature. And as we see here, this time of the year, what's coming up? What fruit is it? Mangoes, okay. Tomatoes. Tomato has a lot of lycopene, very anti-cancer, very protective of the system. What else? Strawberries. So strawberries, you want to take strawberries. Strawberries high in this list. You want to take strawberries. But I'm talking about volumes, not just a few here as a snack. Does that make sense? All right. So it makes sense a little bit more as we keep going on, and so we'll continue here. Specific nutrients also here. Another specific nutrient that's important, most actually the brain is fat, and the brain needs to be fed with fat. And what we have, National Institute of Health recommend consuming at least 2% of your total daily calories as omega-3 fats. A person consuming 2,000 calories per day would need at least 2 grams of omega-3 fats. Some nutritionists or nutritional experts believe that people should consume at least 4% of their total calories, approximately 4 grams, as omega-3 fats. So this fat important for our system. Most naturally, the places you can get these fats from are primarily from beans and seeds and nuts, and also from fish. As you know, this is a vegan class, so I'm not recommending fish. I have the fish up there as an example, volume-wise, of how much you get from fish. The top fish, most naturally, is the Chinook salmon. Again, I'm not promoting Chinook salmon, I'm just using it as a marker, right? As a marker. Well, why I put that as a marker there? Because, as you know, any metal in the body will damage the brain. Not just copper, not just iron, but also mercury, aluminum, and so forth. And fish carries a large amount of mercury. So again, what I want to show that flaxseed, which I will demonstrate in a second for the salad dressing, is the #1 source, especially in density and weight, for omega-3 fatty acid. Walnut is #2. And #3, literally, that is #3 when it comes out to all sources in the world at this moment. #3 would be the salmon, and then there's some other fish. But on the list also I put there soybean, cooked tofu. I'm not demonstrating this today, but I did that before in the past. Water, winter squash, kidney beans, and there's other things. But I just want to give you a good list, and that list basically is about appropriate. There's a few fishes on there, but the #1 and #2 best source per weight and per density would be flaxseed and walnuts. And so I'm going to make a salad dressing using flaxseed and walnuts. This will give a lot of oil to the brain, so the brain has enough oils to do its function. And remember, a large percentage of our total caloric need comes from oils. So it's best to have it as the best oils possible. So more on this issue of oil. Science has known for over 25 years that animals allowed to gorge on bad fats become dumb and dumber. This is true. So again, more fat, more when we talk about bad fat, after consuming the same percentage of saturated animal fat as in a typical American diet, lab animals develop severe brain and memory dysfunction. So again, they give the animals a lot of fat to eat, and the brain stops working, clog the brain up, make it can't function. Monosaturated fats makes brain cells smarter and more efficient and less prone to Alzheimer's. Okay, so again, what are those monosaturated fats? Are olives, avocado, olive oil is about 75% monosaturated fat. So using olive oil, it's primarily monosaturated fat. Cashews is about 58%. So again, just huge percentage of cashews are just monosaturated fat. And macadamia nut oil, grapeseed oil, sesame oil, whole grain, wheat, cereal, oatmeal, safflower, almond, sunflower oil, and avocado oil. And we're putting quite a few of those oils in the salad dressing and things in the salad dressing. Also coconut oil, which in the 80s were given a bad rap as a large proportion, and I think is in nature the largest proportion of lauric acid, a saturated fat that raise good cholesterol by increasing the amount of high density lipoprotein, HDL, cholesterol. The reference there, that is also found in significant amounts in breast milk. Breast milk have about 6%, 6.3% of breast milk is actually lauric acid and sebaceous gland secretions. Go ahead, please.
Lloyd, I just read an article on the internet just yesterday about coconut oil that it's supposedly people giving like 2 tablespoons of it to their family members with dementia.
Yeah.
Yes. And they say within a 3-week period of time they've changed around.
Yes.
I've never used coconut, I don't even eat coconut. Can you get coconut oil in a regular store? You have to go to a food store, a health food store?
You can get it in a regular store.
Even a Walmart.
And have you heard that same thing?
Yes.
Going on the internet?
Yes.
That this is like...
Yeah, many people say that within weeks, as you say.
Weeks.
Yes, yes, you can sure.
So I don't see vegetable oil up there. Is it better to cook with these oils versus vegetable oil?
Well, vegetable oil is primarily, when you say vegetable oil, it's primarily soybean. It's soybean oil that makes vegetable oil. Like if you look at the ingredients, you'll see it says soybean oil.
Okay.
So some of those oils are lower quality, like the soybean oil sometimes, and especially sometimes the problem also if the soybean is genetically engineered or not. That's never normally told. So these oils are higher quality.
Do you have a handout of this where you're showing us or no?
No, but I can shoot it over to you in a minute.
Okay.
I can shoot it over you.
That'd be great.
You want all this information? All right, good. I'll get it over to you. All right. with what happened in the 80s was that they came up with this idea that says coconut oil was bad because they created cholesterol, right? It created cholesterol. But then they didn't understand the idea of good cholesterol, bad cholesterol. So when they found out that there was actually good cholesterol, they thought not all cholesterol was bad. Then they realized that what it is that coconut oil has the highest amount, that lauric acid. There's nothing close to it when it comes to except I think palm oil that has about 27 grams or so of the lauric acid. But primary percentage of coconut oil is lauric acid. It's a good acid to raise the level within the quick amount of time of the high density cholesterol, which affects the brain. These are some oils that are good to put inside of into your diet. And again, variety is the spice of life, as you know, so it's always interesting to, try something new and try something different. Also, what I have here before I leave this idea of the coconut oil is I'm going to cook the lentils with some coconut milk. Alright? So the coconut milk is going to be used again. So you're talking about just getting some different things in your diet, some rich plant-based source of nutrients that have been proven to be much higher. Another slide here we'll go to on some specific.
Yeah, I had that.
Okay. That's the coconut milk. I will use that.
Is this basically a vegetarian diet, or it's a veg?
It's a plant-based. You could say vegan. Yeah.
It's the bean side of the vegetarian diet.
Well, I don't know if it's what would be the other side of it.
I'm just eating rabbit food.
Oh, you know what it is? It's not so much the bean, but it's the seeds.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. The seeds, the nuts, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, all plant-based. All plant-based. But it's also, as I'm doing this, I'm showing that you can get superior nutrients from plant without the added load of the cholesterol.
They say walnuts. How about peanuts? I mean, that's not...
Yeah, peanut is on here. So peanut also, so I'll go through this with peanut. It says, this again, it says, to function optimally, the brain needs a constant supply of choline throughout life. Aging brains fizzle without choline. Alright, so aging brain fizzle without choline. Aging brain fizzle without choline. For one thing, nerve cell requires choline to synthesize the memory neurotransmitter acetylcholine, which drives up in Alzheimer's brain. So when people have Alzheimer's, there's no acetylcholine, and so memory is destroyed because, again, remember the neurons, they're transporting biochemicals or electrical impulses. If there's no chemical for it to send, then there's nothing to receive, so the brain cannot function. So again, choline, very important. Sources of choline is wheat germ, peanut, pistachio, and my sister had some pistachio and gone, right? And some peanuts.
Well, I consumed all of them.
Was that little crunchy back there?
Cashews, almonds, spinach, cauliflower, and Brussels sprout. These are high sources of choline. And so, eat your choline. Broad-based, a few things that you can do. Well, so again, garlic, onion, which is part of the recipe. Oh, I have it right here. So, most actually coconut oil is hard at room temperature. So we'll take some coconut oil and we'll saute the coconut oil.
Replace that instead of using butter even. In your cooking, I mean, not spreading, but in your cooking.
And not spreading in the cooking. Yeah, you can
Instead of like sauteing butter or sauteing coconut.
Coconut oil, yes. And remember again, the coconut oil doesn't add flavor to what you're cooking. As again, you can cook with various other oils, but the coconut oil is what we're using right now. So saute with coconut oil, and then we're going to saute the red onion. Now, do any of you eat the red onion raw or?
Yes.
Yes.
You eat it raw?
Salads, yeah.
Yes.
The salad. So what is that? Why I asked that? Because we could have used the white onion. That's what they call it. Is it white? Yeah, and but with the red onion, you don't have to saute too long. You can just do it very short. So if you don't want to be having everything always in oil, you can use various other type of onions that are milder. So that means you never have to be salted. Sorry. So when it comes on to antioxidants, the two primary nuts are pecan and then walnut. So to protect the body, pecan would be number one. Number two would be walnuts. Very protective of the brain. So pecan is very important for and walnuts. Some people believe that walnuts looks like the brain, but each side of the hemisphere of the brain. Pecan, they say, looks more like the brain or the lungs. Which one? I don't know which one. But they're protected because of the high amount of omega-3 fatty acids that are in them. And the moment this is done, the whole process will be done in a little bit. Also, in your list right there for the lentils, this is the time the same as to you, so you just have to think about it and make an effort to remember. The seasoning blend that you have there, which is parsley, basil, some cilantro, a little bit of cayenne pepper, not the rosemary, and the salt and some olive oil is good to sprout the lentils and to season it with that. And and it gives a nice nutty flavor. So I'll do a quick seasoning for you to sample just before you leave.
I get that.
The sprouted lentils, you can season it raw and eat it raw, and add a little turmeric and eat it raw. So again, just a process where it's like a salad. You do the raw salad basically. And most actually, the sprouted lentils, you get all the nutrients, and it is growing basically, and nothing is cooked, so you get all the delicate nutrients plus the living enzymes and so forth. Oh no, they're soft. You try it before you leave, right?
Can you explain the process for sprouting?
Yes, the process of sprouting that you soak it for about 8 hours or so, 8 to 12 hours in water. So you cover the lentils probably about an inch above the lentils in water, and you soak it for about 8 hours. Then you drain off that water because you turn off all the enzymes that are released, and then what you do is just moisten it down. Probably about 2 times in the next 24 to 40 hours, 24 probably hours. So the total time is probably about 36 to 40 hours, 2 days. And within 2 days. So I started Friday night, and this is where it's at today. And so it's totally, you get all the nutrients that are in the seed. And always you have to cover them. As when you're
So the class farms are not the class farms.
Okay, so here we are. So basically now I've just had my turmeric, and as I said, the process is very fast if you have a stove that's working. Some parsley, some this is cilantro flakes, some basil.
Are you using all fresh basil?
These are all dry, but you can use fresh if you have it available in your garden. This is some rosemary again.
We'll go to Jose's gardening thing, organic gardening.
This is some cayenne. Again, this is optional. Depends if you like hot. But you can add more if you like hot. Depends on what you like. And then this creative seasoning, as I say, because we're using the onion, you don't have to use too much. And then some salt. No, just honey the black.
So you don't cook with pepper. Is there a reason for that?
Yes.
You don't cook with pepper?
Black pepper.
Yes.
You don't?
Yeah, because it's an irritant. It can irritate the digestive lining and cause inflammation within the digestive system.
Okay. I know it doesn't digest, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not good for digestion. And if you eat it in your mouth, it has a very harsh, not a pleasant taste. It's a very harsh taste. Very, very harsh taste.
So it's more your preference not to cook with pepper?
No, it's not my preference. It's
the healthy through vegetables.
It's the health, yeah, for the health reason. Right, because again, you're dealing with something that's not very gentle on the system.
Okay.
It's very harsh to deal with. So again, when you're talking about, if you can get the same result from something else, it's always best to use the sausage.
Okay.
So that's why the varying amount of new ingredients. And so I'll add my lentils to the stew, and
So you're combining everything that you've done.
yeah, so basically all the different things that are good for brain, basically I put it into a recipe. And I've created a recipe out of it. And it's a functional recipe. And so here is the saying that your food now becomes your medicine. So as you're eating, you're getting healthier, but also you can enjoy the food at the same time, and you can get the benefits of the food right there as you're eating. So how do you like this stew? Thick or you know, how thick you like it?
Usually thicker, tasty.
Okay. Okay, so I put all the lentils in since you like it thick. I always want to see. I'm cooking to order for you.
There you go. That club plant. Happy.
I come back to this specific plan. Being a more moderate exercise program, about 40 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week. This is very specific. You cannot discount the amount of benefits you get from exercising. 40 minutes a day is something that to build up to. Some, you know, from some people, 20 minutes is going to be too much, 10 minutes is going to be too much. So you build up to that 3 to 4 times a week. And they've shown so many studies that doing nothing else, so that's why I put it as number 1. Doing nothing else will cause the brain to start growing, because exercise puts the brain on the strain. And if you've been ever exercising, and it's the force of mind to sometimes keep going, or to get up and do it. Because sometimes the issue is not so much to keep going, but the issue is to do it. You know, you can say, well, I'm going to do something else. And even I find myself sometimes I have to tell myself to reverse the order of things that I'm going to do. Instead of, so if the hardest task, do it first. Because normally we prefer sometimes to do the hardest task last. So it's a force of mind, but although we're doing that imperceptibly, what that does, they've shown on a brain scan, is that within just 1 day of exercising, 1 day of scanning the computer, and going from one website to the next website, they've shown that people's different patients' brain will start growing and showing active growth areas in different sections of the brain. And so some people say, I don't want to use the computer, but it's good sometimes just go there, because you're navigating and you're finding your way around things, and it is almost like going through a maze. And that's what basically comes, because some website they're built so terribly that it's like a maze to get around it. So as you go through that maze, what it is, your brain is developing pathways, and you're storing things in your brain, so you know, oh, okay, I know how to do this, I know how to do that. And it's just all memory. And memory is built by repetition. The more you repeat the thing, the more it becomes easier, because your brain, oh, I know how to do this, or I know how to do that. So number 1, exercise, very important. Nutritious plant-based diet. Go totally plant-based. Take a diet that's totally plant-based, or increase your consumption of various plant foods. So again, if you feel like you cannot go totally, it's good to start 10% change in your diet, 20%. Just start somewhere, right? Start somewhere and start to experiment with some different things. As I say, get out of your comfort zone and increase. And again, that's going to take some mental exertion, because you're going to have to make some active change in your thinking. And I think we're good here. I just have to make sure that the salt level is good. But the salt level in your recipe is good, but I always have to check, because for this recipe I had some extra lentils. I didn't know how many people were going to have exactly. Also, increase your mental stimulation. Consider learning a new language, music, instrument, or subject. So again, if probably you have always wanted to do statistics, right? And you wanted to study that, probably it's a good time to go online. And what is it called tomorrow? Corsica? Yes. Corsica.com. Corsica.com offers free classes, and so you probably want to go there. And it's what is it called? It's basically a cooperation between Harvard, Princeton, Berkeley, I think it is, and some other universities that get free courses on that. So, you know, probably go do something different. Take interest in new people and new technology also. Because sometimes the new technology, they come with a learning curve. By learning that, you know, taking the time to learn, what you'll find is that your brain will have to come out of the comfort zone. Lastly, there says reduce stress by increasing environment, by creating an environment that is stress reducing both in living arrangement and in conduct. So what does that mean is that reduce stress is that try to make your home more happy. You know, probably put something on the wall, probably paint your home with some different colors, put some, even if it's artificial flowers, right? Some artificial plants, right, Mom? Something, right? To just bring up the excitement in your life. Because more excitement is the more the brain is stimulated. But we're not talking about stimulants now, we're just talking about environmental you know, encouragement. And then in your living arrangement, make sure your living arrangement is something that is conducive towards stimulating the brain. And also your conduct, you know, conduct oneself more happily, then one will feel better about life. And on your handout, before we do this last thing and make you try the food, on your handout, because I know some of you might be hungry at the moment. On your handout, there's an article here that I copied from. First, I had some information about prayer, but I'll kind of cut that. You can go online and read a few articles from major sources that talks about the connection between mad cows and Alzheimer's disease. And read this in your own time if you can, because you'll see that there's a specific connection between mad cow, Alzheimer's disease, and scientists still doesn't know what is it that causes the prion, which is basically, it's a normal protein within the system. Why does it go crazy? Scientists do not understand that. Because they say they see it happening, but they don't know why. Well, what I believe, and from all my studies and what I've been reading, is that in mammal, this incident happens in mammals, all mammals. And they've put some things there where there's people who have, in Kentucky, there was somebody who came down with CJD, which is the human form of mad cow disease. And they had rednecks. But they had it right because they ate squirrels, right? They ate the brains of squirrels. Squirrels, right? So they ate the brains of squirrels, and they had the CJD, right? That's on that paper. Well, how I understand simply this is that all mammals have it, because they can see these plaques and these tars and these prions in our brains, all of our brains, you know, it's there. But the brain has a way to clear it out, right? And the body has a way to clear it out. But what I think happened is that says, number one, is an overload when people eat the brain, when they eat the brain of other mammals. Because remember, when scraping happened in the 60s and 70s, it was because they were feeding sheep. They fed the sheep, and the sheep that ate the sheep developed this kind of mad cow type, Alzheimer's type trait. Also, later on in Britain again, they found that they were feeding the cows. They would take the dead cows that happened to get into get to be turned into animal feed. They'll feed it to the cows, and the cows will come down with with mad cow. Also, they find on a list you have there, and they have the prion infection of Kuru, which was in Papua New Guinea, where they would eat the dead bodies of their deceased, their dead, what do you call it, their ancestors. When they eat it, they would come down with what they call Kuru, which is basically CJD, mad cow disease, all of these things. Because again, they're eating mammals, and eating the mammals create the disease in themselves. And you can see videos online where you see they're shaking like this, and they got them off the diet, give them some treatments, and all of a sudden the disease disappeared. Right? Because again, eating mammals does not create ill health. Because remember, if you have a disease and I eat you, I'm going to partake of your disease. And how much of us know that people eat animals, eat their meat raw, or what we call rare? right? So you're taking the blood, you're taking everything, you're taking it into you, you're going to take on now that disease. Also, we know that when mad cow broke out in the 90s, and even up until now, almost the people take blood out of the sunset, right? The blood drive, the blood,
Right.
blood donation. Yeah, but they put a ban on anybody that lived in Britain from a certain time to a certain time because they believe that because they ate the beef, thanks for because they ate the beef, they had the mad cow prion inside of them. So if they gave blood, they would pass it to the people who receive blood. So again, proof that you receive it from somewhere. So again, if people are eating the mad cow, they're going to take on the form inside of their system. And so they say, well, they don't know why that these people are coming down with this disease. How does it get into the system? Get into the system because again, we eat it from the animal and the animal give it to us. And all animals have this prion in them. And they have mad deer, where they're shot deer in the wild, cut the brain open, and they have mad deer disease. They have mad squirrel, mad everything, mad sheep. And so by eating the animals, we get scraping. Now, on your note, we have this is the salad dressing that we have here. And everything is here, so I'm just going to put everything in the blender. I don't have to think about it. I need a spoon to stir it up. So this is a walnut flaxseed salad dressing. This salad dressing basically has sunflower seed, again, all different oils right here, olive oil, walnut oil, tahini, honey for sweetener. Anybody here allergic to honey? No? Okay, so I don't have to make it with a variance. Then we have here, we put actually the walnuts and the flaxseed in, parsley, basil, water, salt, yeast flakes for that flavor again, and then lemon also for the flavor. And so we just add everything in, the flaxseed, the walnut flaxseed, yeast flakes, parsley. This looks like sunflower oil with the honey. So I'm going to scrape up.
Servings do that be for? Like if I did this for myself, will I be able to put it in the refrigerator afterwards?
Yes, it will last you probably 5 to 7 days, probably 5 days. But you have the lemon, so it will not go. These oils are somewhat stable, and you probably use it. Depends on how much you use.
The oil's already in there, so it's not going to go bad. Right?
Yes, it won't go bad, but anything with water can go bad. Right, so you always have to keep that in mind. Tahini again, the sesame paste. This is again flavor. This is for the nutrients. This is high in calcium. Yeah, you can come close.
Yeah, I just want to, and like you said, these nuts. If somebody has diverticulitis, walnuts or nuts, you make sure that you blend it all. So it's gonna be all blended out. Yeah, the water, and then we just blend it. With flaxseed creates a gelatinous type of texture, so overnight it will get a little bit harder. And then depends on how much lemon you put in there. Lemon gets into, I guess, it acts as an emulsifier, so it depends on how thick you want, if you want it pourable or you want it just something that you spoon out. Again, that's all towards your taste. And so this here is done. So I just, you don't have to shoot it. We could just leave it here because I think we're just about out of time. So I'll just finish up and then, so we're basically done. So basically what I've created is just a simple meal with some lentils, some rice, some salad dressing, and we have the salad back there. And I didn't list the things on the salad. The salad basically has some cucumbers, lettuce, sweet peppers, carrot, and some olives. And those 5 things in the salad with the salad dressing, and then that bit. So I'm just going to finish up, put it out, and then we can all sample. Oh, right. There you go.